Well, welcome back to the second session. I'm so glad you're here. But I'm telling you, I'm surprised as hell I'm even here talking to you. The reason is I was the shyest, quietest, most reserved kid you could ever imagine. I was actually scared to talk to people. Scared. I would get all anxious like that, right? It was like inside. I didn't call it anxious then, but that's my adult word. My grown-up word is anxious. I would just get all tied up in knots if I had to meet somebody new. I tell you how shy I was. I went on blind dates, and I was so afraid we'd run out of things to talk about. Well, we never did, of course. But then my very first job was in a management training program at a women's retail specialty store in San Francisco, which is where I live. And that first job was actually a referral. My uncle knew the head of human resources, introduced me, and I got the job. Well, it was a sales job. Thinking, I can't sell. I don't like to talk to people. I get scared. What am I going to do? And the salespeople I had confronted were pushy, aggressive, in your face, unlikable, loud. And I wasn't that kind of person. What I learned was, it's not what sales is about at all. Sales is about taking care of people. Sales is about relationships. Sales is about integrity. And sales is about telling the truth, even when customers don't want to hear what that truth is. That's what sales is about relationships. You know that. You know that. And then my first client, when I went out on my own, was actually a referral as well, which in hindsight now I've remembered. They hired me to work with them on a sales and marketing strategy. It was a small company, about 6 or 8 people on the management team. They had no clue about sales. As I started working with them, I realized they had a big, big problem. They didn't have enough clients. They didn't have enough revenue. And they were perplexed. After all, they thought they were doing all the right things. They went to networking events. They exchanged cards. They were well known in the community. They had wonderful clients. They had articles in the San Francisco Business Times where they were profiled. They took ads out in the Business Times. They actually had a website. In those days it was small, but they had a website. But they didn't have enough clients. They were doing all these great things, but they didn't have enough clients. Oh, and on top of that, they were planning to be acquired. And obviously for that to happen, they needed more clients, they needed more revenue. So they're doing all these great things. What was missing? What weren't they doing? What weren't they doing? What's on that slide? They weren't asking for referrals. They were doing nothing about referrals. Well, they were something because sometimes their clients actually sent them a referral. But it wasn't the way they worked. It was kind of happenstance. They got them from time to time, but that was it. So I say referrals are your fastest revenue driver. They're your fastest profit driver. And here's a referral. You actually get an introduction. It could be from a customer. It could be from someone in your kid's school. It could be from church. It could be somebody in the community. But somebody introduces you. So what happens? Tell me when you've all gotten a referral in the past, right? Okay. Mark, we need a bigger name, right? Mark, what happens when you've gotten that referral? What goes on?
They call you up, they tell you what they're looking for, and they tell you who referred you to them.
They call you up, they tell you what you're looking for, and they tell you who referred you to them. Okay, and what happens with that kind of customer? What's the difference when you get a referral? They get one proposal instead of 10 proposals. And what happens with that one proposal? You generally get the business. Okay, what else happens when you get a referral? You like them? You like referrals? Okay, this is your turn to talk, to vote. Do you like getting referrals? Good. Why do you like getting them?
Instant credibility.
Adds to the credibility, you bet. And one of the things I've learned, you probably always knew about your business, for some people it seems like, I don't know if they're telling the truth, because there's many guys out there who aren't telling the truth, right? And so we need to stand out. So when we have that credibility, right, the customers trust us. Trust us. I want to demonstrate that. Would you come up here a minute, please? I'm not gonna hurt you. Just come on up here a minute. Thank you. Would you come up here a minute? The lady at the back table. Thank you. All right. Would you come up here, because you're always moving forward. You told me that, right? All right, good. All right, so you stand right here. Jordan, right? And you are? June, right. You stand right here. All right, so here's what we're going to do. You two face each other. Two guys face each other. All right, good. Do you go by Patrick or Pat?
Pat's fine.
Pat's fine. Okay. So Pat's told me his fine. Now, here's what happens. Justin, Jordan. I always want to call you Justin. Okay. So Pat and Jordan know each other very well. Right? Excuse me. You know each other very well. And Pat, you're going to introduce June to Jordan.
June, I'd like to meet Jordan.
What happens? What happens? You guys know each other. You trust each other. What happens to the trust when you make the introduction? What happens? Excuse me. Excuse me. I had allergies. I think they're coming back. So, what happens to the trust?
It passes on.
It passes to you, right? That's what happens. It's exactly what happens. June is now trusted. That's what will happen to every one of you when you get the introduction. Thank you. I'm going to take a lozenge. I call it the multiplier effect of trust. When you're introduced, you not only have credibility, you have trust. And trust is the hardest thing to happen today. So you've got trust. Why else do you like to get referrals? Leads to more referrals, yes. Why else? What else happens? It's what?
It's a free lead.
It's a free lead. There's no cost. Isn't that amazing? No, what about the competition? Right? Go on. One of my clients says that referrals are a tiebreaker. Think about it. Two of you, you've been referred, you have the relationship, which is what matters. You get the deal, get the business. That's what happens with referrals. It's that trust. And here's what else happens. You don't get this. You don't get a PITA customer. That is a pain in the ass. Who's ever had a PITA customer? Okay, if you haven't raised your hand, you're not telling the truth. because we've all had them. And the thing is, we recognize them, don't we? We recognize them from the minute we talk to them, the minute we go to their home. We know who they are. They want to nickel and dime us. They want to get a lot of bids. They want to stand right next to your installer and watch everything he does. You don't want PETA customers. When you ask for a referral, you have an opportunity to ask for exactly the kind of client you want. Who is it? That's your opportunity when you ask for a referral, so you never get this. You know, there's been research done about trust, and it's not good. Only 18% of customers trust salespeople across industry. That's really upsetting when I saw that. I actually quoted it in one of my blog posts. It's appalling. But there's so many bad examples out there. And it's gotten way worse today with social media. People are out there pitching all the time. They're in your face. You know, we need to show up on social media like we show up in person, and that's not happening. So you get these pitchy, awful salespeople. Only 18% of salespeople are trusted. And that's one of the reasons when you get a referral, you arrive with trust. So that number is going to change. Now back to my client. At the same time I was working with them, they were doing a customer satisfaction survey of 50 of their best clients. And it was several rounds. I put a question on the last round. Would you be willing to be a referral to this company? Not a reference, not give a review, but a referral. I added that question on the last round, and it was a 7-point scale. 7 was high. 50 of their best clients were asked, would you be a referral to this company? 7's high. What do you think the number came back at? 4? What else? 7? Nope. What else? Come on, I can't hear you up here. Tell me, yell it out. 2? No.
6.5.
What?
6.5.
You got it. 6.5. Exactly. Okay. You get my book. Pick up the damn phone. How people, not technology, seal the deal. All right. 6.5 out of 7. 50 of their best clients said, sure, I'm glad to refer you. Were they asking? What do you think? No, they weren't asking. They weren't. What about you? What about you asking your customers? How many of you have asked your customers for referrals? Most of them. How many of you asked, like, about half? How many of you have forgotten to ask? And how many of you have asked few or none of your customers for a referral? Okay, nobody's raising their hand for anything. You're not voting. This is not helping. I'm going to say it again. Who has asked most of your customers for a referral? Hand up. Hi. Thank you. Who has asked a good chunk, say 50% or so, for a referral? Thank you. Who has asked some? Okay. Who's forgotten to ask? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for being honest. Absolutely. And I know that you haven't asked anybody. You know how I know? Your speaker, Sam Richter, is going to be here for after dinner or dinner talk, right? Now, I met Sam 10 years ago when I was here in Minneapolis. And I saw we were both speaking, so I called him last week and we reconnected. Now, he knows I'm speaking about referrals because that's what I do. And he said to me, I have Lennox, nobody's ever asked me. So I don't want all of you congregating on Sam later. You guys work it out. But see, I know you're not asking when Sam tells me he has Lennox. And you don't know who people know. You just don't know that. So now I'd like to ask you to think about a time when you were introduced to exactly the customer you wanted. Think about the percent of time that prospect became a customer. So was it somewhere around, Joanne, maybe 30, 35%, something like that? Just a guesstimate. Do you think it was somewhere around 50%, 55, maybe 60? Do you think it was somewhere around 70% or 90% or 100%? Does everybody have an idea of what number you want to share? Okay, I'm going to ask you to vote with your feet and stay standing. So those of you who said, I think when I get the good referral, about 30% become customers, would you stand? 50%, would you stand? Nobody's standing. What do you think's going on? I don't know. 70%, would you stand? 90%, would you stand? Oh, wow. Keep standing. 100%, would you stand? We have two more people standing at 100. Somebody's not standing. Haven't you asked? Excuse me?
Couldn't understand everything you said.
I'm sorry. Couldn't understand. So that's fine. What do you think the number that you convert is when you get a referral? Do you think it's around 50%, 70%, 90%? What do you think?
It's pretty high.
Pretty high. 70? Yeah, okay, about 70%. Thank you. Stop for a minute. Who else didn't hear what I said? Because I have a new mic. Last time it was awful. I'll try to speak slower and more distinctly. All right, so the groundswell was very different than the last group. The groundswell at the last group was 70%. The groundswell at this group was 90%. And two people stood at 100%. There is nothing, there is no sales strategy, there's no marketing strategy that comes close to the power of referrals. Think of it this way. What if everyone in this room asked one person a day, 20 a week, one customer a day? Could you ask 20 a month for a referral? Could you? You probably could. You're nodding. So you ask 20 and say, let's work with 70%. So let's say about 15. You'd get a referral to 15 of exactly the customers you want. And you're going to close those 70, 90, 100% of the time. You're going to have credibility. They close faster. You don't have competition. You have exactly the kind of customer you want. Is that cool? Yeah, that's what happens. That's exactly what happens. But we're not asking, are we? We said that. We're not asking. So what gets in the way? On the one hand, we've said referrals are absolutely the best business. You've shared with us why. On the other, we're just not asking, or we forget to ask. What is going on? Help me understand what's going on. Okay. What's going on? Why aren't we asking? What do you think?
It's not top of mind.
It's not top of mind. Okay, why don't you think we're asking? Why aren't we asking for referrals?
It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah. Why else? Why else aren't we asking? Peter, why aren't we asking? Why aren't we asking for referrals? Don't know. Yeah, well, that's a reason. That's a reason. So, talking about discomfort, in fact, there's the elephant in the room. And I want to bring it to the fore because nobody is talking about this. This discomfort in asking. And by the way, it doesn't matter if we're new to sales, it doesn't matter our gender, it doesn't matter where we live. This is a human factor. This comment was from an experienced salesperson, 20 plus years experience, and he doesn't know why. He's just not comfortable asking. We all feel that way. This discomfort, this angst, maybe even the anxiety I felt as a kid talking to people. Talking to people. We have this anxiety about asking. So just know everybody has it. Everybody. Maybe 1 in 1,000 says, oh, I'm just great at it. Well, my clients are fine with it. I'm fine with it because I've been working it 20 plus years. But the majority of people aren't. And that's why it's your biggest competitive differentiation. Because that's great. So here's what happens. Call reluctance. So when we ask for referrals, it's truly the most personal kind of selling we can do, right? We put our reputation on the line when we ask. What's the biggest fear we have? Rejection, yes. What if they say no? What if they say no? They don't like me. I said something to offend them. I don't know what the reason is, but it's that fear of the no, the fear of rejection, and everybody has it. So let's just acknowledge it. We all have it. Every one of us. Every one. So for some people, they say, it just feels really pushy, to ask someone for a referral. And that's not the kind of salesperson I am. Other people say, it's asking for help. Yes, it is, and I'm here to tell you, it's absolutely fine to ask for help. It's not a weakness. We all have people ask us all the time. You think about someone you knew well, a buddy, said, hey, can you help me out? Do we do it? Of course we do. But we don't always think the opposite, that someone will help us as well. But they will help us out. So it's okay to ask for help. It's not a weakness. It's not. I think sometimes the asking for help part can be a little harder for guys, at least that's what they've told me. But it's a human factor. It happens with all of us. They might say no, yes. The fear of rejection. That is huge. Absolutely. But what if you didn't deliver? What if something went wrong and you asked your customer and they hadn't told you and now they're going to come out and tell you? That would be terrible because we should have known before. We should have. So we think, what if I uncover something and they're not really satisfied? Then I'll have to spend my time fixing it. And I just can't ask them for a referral. That's one of the things that happens. And I seem desperate. Yep. People think they feel desperate. So what gets in the way of asking? Who gets in the way of asking? Who gets in the way of asking?
We do.
We do. Absolutely, we do. We are the ones that get in the way of asking. It happens all the time. How do you think we get over that discomfort in asking? How do you get good at anything? Well, there are three things that happen. But before that, there's some other things going on about why you're not getting referrals. So this is the three things I think is happening. And the first is they don't know you want more business. I mean, that seems absurd, doesn't it? Why wouldn't people know we want more business? Well, I've had people ask me, Joanne, do you need more clients? It's a good thing I wasn't face-to-face because they would have seen my expression. Thought it was the stupidest question I could ever hear. But nobody's a mind reader. They don't know. After all, they see your trucks all over the place. They see your radio, hear your radio ads. They see you in print. They see you in the community. It appears you're really, really busy. And if you're really, really busy, are you going to have time for me? People aren't mind readers. They aren't. So I had one client who on their website said that she was always the first one in the office in the morning. And I belonged to a group, and we had meetings that started at 7 a.m. And she was there before that. And I wrote about her in my book. I said, nobody's going to think you want more business. So here's what I counseled her to say. That, you know, when people say, well, how's it going? You say, oh, I'm so busy. I'm really, really busy. I'm really, really busy. Instead of saying that, you can say, I've been so busy, which is great, but I always have time for one or two more great clients, great customers, great people like you. Because that's all you need from each person is one or two. And that's how trust is spread. Remember the multiplier effect? That's exactly what happens. So that's what you do. They are not mind readers. All right, the second reason is they don't know who you want to meet. You need to ask them, right? You need to tell them who you want to meet. Who's your ideal customer? Because you have a choice here. See, when you ask for a referral, you get to have exactly the customer you want. You're going to forget about all the PETA customers, all the bad ones. We don't want them. Who do you want? Many of you told me, well, I want someone who's established, has a family, has some income. I don't want a price shopper, obviously. Some of you like to work in new construction, others of you don't. So again, I don't know who you're looking for. Right? I do now. I sat at breakfast with a couple guys from Fargo, and I said, I've been to Fargo in July, but I said, I'm going to ask my client. Right? Everybody can be sources of referrals for you. Obviously, your customers are terrific, but you know that your communities, you are so active in your communities. There's everybody there willing to help you out. They just don't know how to help. But you're going to let them know who you want to meet. And the other thing is, how can you communicate the reason for the introduction? How can you communicate that? And it's not because you're trustworthy, you're efficient, you arrive on time, your people clean up when they leave, you're fair priced, you've been in business for 20 years, 50 years, 70 years. Everybody's saying the same thing. Everybody's saying the same thing. Well, how are you different? Well, have you been to Brittany's session yet, any of you? No, so you will learn, she's going to talk about how to tell your story. And the best way when you're talking to people is to use a customer example. Because people respond to stories. We love stories. We grew up hearing stories, telling stories, having stories read to us. So that's how you're going to communicate how you're different. So people need to know that. And if I'm going to refer you, or anybody is, you need to tool them with the language of what to say. And they can use their own experience if it's a customer. But even if they say nothing, and it's someone you know really well, and they say, you need to call Jordan because his company did the most amazing job for me, and you need to talk to him, right? Yeah, he's moving up. He told me he's moving up, so yeah. So that's what happens. So they will. In your business, they will. But that's what you want. You want the introduction. And then you're going to call, I'm going to call Jordan and say, Jordan, I just introduced you to my neighbor, Faye, and she's expecting your call. See the difference there? We can wait for people to call us, or we can make the call. I've had so many people say to me, Joanne, I've told so many people to call you. Do you think anybody calls? Well, once in a while. Now, in your situation, it's a little different because coming winter, they do need a good furnace. Coming summer, they absolutely need air conditioning. So they have more of a reason to call you. But it's about being proactive and intentional and asking. That's what it's about. So here's what it takes, and here's what my client did. The first is to have a strategy. Now, I don't like binders. I don't like lots of pieces of paper about a strategy. I like a half a page tops. So what are you going to do in your companies about referrals? What are your goals around referrals? How many new customers do you want? Referrals drive revenue. Referrals drive profits. What are your revenue goals? How many new customers do you want? What kind of customers do you want? What do you want to sell them? All those things, you write down your goals in your referral strategy. Who should be involved? Everybody in your company at some point can be a referral source because everybody knows people. Everybody knows someone who can help you out. It's just like magic when it happens. It's so wonderful. So that's what you need to do. Spend a little time with your team. I'm talking no more than 45 minutes to an hour. And write down your referral strategy. Then the next thing you need is skills. Because referral selling is actually a behavior change. It's a new way of working. It's a skill that needs to be learned. Because there is a way to ask that will get you introduced to exactly the customer you want to meet so that you have that amazing conversion rate of 70, 90, 100%. That's what you want. That's what you want. So you need to build your skills. And then when you build skills without execution, nothing changed. How many of you have been to training and you thought it was great and you went back and you got busy and nothing happened? Yeah. Tell me about it. I can tell you how many things. It was great, and then nothing happened. That's because we have businesses to run, and we get so involved that these gems we took away never get implemented. Execution means with any behavior change, the only way change happens is with reinforcement and coaching and having goals around it. Because without that, I say don't bother. It's a waste of money. So this is, in fact, what is needed, and this is what my client did. They put a referral system in place, and what they said to me was, I finally have a step-by-step strategy, a way to work so that I'm getting introductions. They built their revenue from their 50 best clients who offered to refer them, and they were acquired within 2 years. That's what can happen, not about the acquisition piece, but that's what can happen with your business, how it will shift. Imagine working less and getting more. Wouldn't that be cool? Without any cost, except the stamp that you're going to put on the note card. That's it. That's what happens. Now, on your worksheet, on the other side, I'd like you to think about that this is a new way of working. And just very quickly write your thoughts. What is the cost? What is the cost of transitioning to referral selling? What are you losing or giving up if you actually transition to referral selling and make this the way you work? And then what happens if you do nothing? So take about a minute and just write down your quick thoughts. What happens if you don't make the transition to referral selling? What are you losing or giving up? And what happens if you do absolutely nothing and continue to work the way you're working?
When we're asking for a referral, what exactly are we asking for? Are we asking them to give us a name of somebody right then and there that could be a potential client? Or are we simply asking them, hey, if you know anyone that's in the market, give them my name?
Okay, so the question is, what are we doing when we're asking for a referral? Are we asking for a name? Or are we saying, hey, if you know anybody, let me know, right? So what you're asking is, I'm saying it's a customer, it could be anybody in the community you know, right? But you're asking them who they know that you should meet, who they know they can introduce you to, and then you're describing clearly who you want to meet, right? So you don't get any PETAs, all right? We're done with those. All right, good. That help? Other questions? Okay. So I'm going to go to each table, and I'm going to ask one person to tell me one thing they wrote down. You didn't write. Scott, what'd you write down? What's one thing?
I got a question mark.
You have a question mark.
Not sure.
Not sure. Okay. That's all right.
I'll
June?
answer for him. I think one of the things that you would be losing is more referrals.
You'll be losing is more referrals. Yes. You're getting some now. We all do, right? But we want to turn those that come in because people have been nice enough to refer us. So I say taking them from happenstance to happening all the time, right? That's what you want. You want to shift that passive to a proactive, intentional ask, right? Yes, you'd be losing more referrals. How about here?
Losing dollars.
Losing dollars. Yes, so referrals drive revenue, right? RDR, referrals drive revenue. Let's just all remember that. Okay. How about over here? I'm coming around. Coming around. What'd you answer to any of them?
What's the cost of not making the referrals? It costs you
Not
anything.
making sales?
You need to.
You need more sales. Okay. So, yes.
You have to pay more for advertising.
Oh, you have to pay more for advertising. Yes. Now, here's the thing. I believe in advertising. I believe in marketing. I believe in being in the community. That is passive. We don't always know when people call. We still need to do it. Maybe we need to do a little less, more targeted. I don't know. It's getting very expensive, isn't it? Very expensive. So, yes, we would be doing that. Well, thank you for writing that down. Now, here's a question for you. Are you ready to commit to referral selling? Are you ready to commit to working differently? So if you are, would you raise your hands? Okay, so quite a few hands raised. All right, great. You didn't hear what I said. I got it. We're going to have some fun there. So here's what's happening. Mary and I worked out a plan, if you'd like it. So you have a yellow sheet, bright yellow. There you go. So we've put together a virtual workshop series. And Mary's actually participating in a public series like this I have now. She says, I want our dealers to be able to have access to this. So here's what it looks like. It's 6 group webinars where we all get together, right? We talk about strategy, et cetera. And then I send you to my course on LinkedIn Learning. And you're going to love this because the LinkedIn Learning course is a series of 3 to 5 minute videos that I've recorded. Great working in little chunks, so it doesn't take a lot of time, but you also have worksheets to do to apply to your business. And then we'll come on a group webinar, apply that. I'll send you back to LinkedIn Learning, and it's rinse and repeat. So you'll learn, and then we'll get together, talk about it, and apply it to your business. I make it as close to being in person as possible with role plays and feedback, et cetera, so you will learn and change behavior. I also include 2 one-on-one coaching calls with each person because that's the execution piece to cement it. That's what it looks like. And you'll get my books, et cetera, my time, all of that. So we're starting, we chose Wednesdays at 8:30 Central for 6 sessions. We have 2 weeks between one session because that's the time you're going to practice and role play. So that's what it looks like. We put together some special pricing just for you, either a full payment or a payment plan. And this is in effect until tomorrow, Wednesday night at midnight Central. Because you shouldn't have to think about this now. You can enroll yourself, your comfort advisors, a technician, a couple people on your team to shift behavior and learn how to ask and make referral selling the way you do business. Save money, make more money, less advertising, more referrals, and more revenue. Referrals drive revenue. So here's where you can go to look for more. I've created a special page on my site for you. You go to nomorecalling.com/Lennox, and you'll see all the information. I also will be here through the evening and glad to answer any questions you have. So thanks for committing to referral selling. Thanks for understanding and acknowledging that referrals drive revenue. Your business will never be the same again. Thank you. Okay. All right.